Hi everybody, it's Claire back with another art journal video, and in this one I'm playing in the small white journal from Dina Wakley, and I'm going to be using one of Natalie May's collage faces from the Suburban Beauties set, and I'm going to be cutting the face out from the rest of the collage paper and using a water brush to do that. So this collage paper is so lovely, and this is really the easiest way to get a nice soft edge on your cutout part, really, without having that harsh line that you can get if you do use scissors. And sometimes you get a bit of residue colour left over on the edges, but as you'll see, I managed to incorporate that into the page as well, so it doesn't have to be a massive problem. And just flipping it over means I can kind of roughly see where I need to go, and I'm not painting over the face with my water. So I quite often, when I work in this journal, I will use gesso on the background, but on this occasion I haven't done that because this is actually gold gesso from the Crafters Workshop. Oh, it's so beautiful. It's such a lovely colour. And I'm not using that all over the page. I'm just adding it kind of across the centre of the page, but I'm not putting it where that face is going to go. As you can see, I've sort of taken it pretty much up to the face and then stopped. So that gives me a nice warm base for my page. And then I'm using some matte medium to stick the collage image in place. One thing with these collage images, it's great to just pop some of your matte medium over the top, and then if you want to, if you've got little wrinkles in it and you want it to be completely flat, you can just burnish it with your finger. Sorry, I couldn't think of the word then. You can burnish over it with your finger. And then I am using some Lindys Magicals. Now this for me is quite a new discovery. I've heard people talking about these and thought, yeah, okay, another product that I don't really need to add to my stash of arty things that includes lots of things that I didn't really need, but have since discovered that I did. So this is a set called Under the Boardwalk. These are flat magicals, so I think that just means that these haven't got like the shimmery, sparkly elements in them. They're just flat colours. This colour that I'm using here is called Orange Creamsicle. It's beautiful. It's a lovely, lovely warm colour. And as you know, I'm not really one for my oranges, but this one is so pretty. Here I'm using some embossing. The helicopter's back again. Oh goodness me. Sorry about that. If it's not the birds, I don't mind the birds singing, but the helicopter, it's so loud. Go away. Anyway, I am now going to do some heat embossing and use that as a resist on my next layer before I add my next colour. So I was using a stamp from Natalie May, which has just got some text on it, on my heat embossing ink pad, and then I've just used some clear embossing. Oh geez, what is wrong with me? Wording, I'm not wording very well today. Some clear embossing powder, that's the tricky word that's catching me out, don't know why. And just so that I'm creating that resist. I didn't want the embossing powder to be in a colour, although now I discover you can get coloured embossing powders. This is just like even more art products that I need but don't need. Anyway, my excuse is that I need them to show you guys. That's what I say to my husband when stuff comes. I'm like, well, I had to buy it because my followers on YouTube are interested to see the different things that are out there. You guys are my excuse. So here I'm using a colour called Raspberry Lemonade. This is the prettiest pink. These are basically a pigment powder you activate with water. You can get little shakers to put them in and you can shake them on. So if you add your water first and then drop them into the water, and you can see all the different elements of the powder, the different colours they've used to make the colour. You can see how they kind of explode into life. They're just so, so pretty. Here I am using it a bit like a watercolour. So I'm wetting my brush, dipping it into the powder, and then just activating it on my glass mat and pulling it across onto the page using a watercolour brush and just pulling that pigment out. It's another great way to get colour onto your journal pages. So then I'm using an Amsterdam acrylic paint called Permanent Red Purple. So this truly is mixed media, isn't it? I'm using Lindys powders. I've used gold gesso, and now I'm using acrylic paint, and you can see how well these elements merge together. This is a stencil that was a stencil that I designed for Scrap Effects, who of course are no longer sadly in business. This is a Tim Holtz stencil. Can't remember what it's called, but it's a very pretty one. I love these little stars, and I chose turquoise because it's a really good contrast with what's already on my page. Just that little tiny bit of stenciling works really well here. And here I'm just working out what's kind of making that page feel nice and balanced. So what I mean by that is, like, if I look somewhere and think there's a bit of a gap there, I just pop a little bit extra. As your eye looks around, you'll get a feel for what is working and what's balanced and what's not. Then I've left a space for the hair. So I'm going to pull the hair, like this nice sort of sweeping hair. I'm using the gold gesso for that again. So that's going to be my base layer. So I'm not introducing another colour here because I've already got quite a lot of colours going on in my background. So just using this gold gesso means that I'm not adding any more confusion to this page. And I'm just using what's already there. But this is just my base. This is my start really here. And I'm going to go in with some other things on top of the hair to make it stand out a bit more. But honestly, this gold gesso from the Crafters Workshop is the prettiest thing. It's so nice, and kind of trying to come up with as many other ways that I can use it as possible. So then I'm using a Stabilo All, I think this is a brown, yes it is, and I'm just going to be pulling that colour out a little bit with my water brush. I think I've also put a little bit of red in there too. Yeah. So I'm sticking with colours that are kind of already on the page. Just adding some marks to sort of indicate the movement of the hair on the page as well here. Then I've grabbed a gold pen, because why not? Let's add a little bit more gold. Now it doesn't particularly look gold on this the camera shot of it, but it is, and it does work quite well on the final page. Then I'm adding some little wiggles of hair down the side, so I'm just kind of now working on softening the edges of the hair as well. I'm just doing some kind of looser lines around there, and then just adding some little dots on the lines as well. It's just about adding those little marks that make the journal page your own. And these are the palette pastels from Jane Davenport. It's my favourite way to put a little bit of gentle blush on the cheek. You can see that's my favourite one. I don't know what I'm going to do when I've used it all up. I'm going to be completely stuck. Then, of course, some splatters. It's got to be done. So there's been quite a lot of layers in the process of creating this page, but this was one of my favourites. So the reason I am now using this Distress Crayon from Tim Holtz in, I think it's like a peacock blue colour, around the edge of my image that I cut out using the water brush from Natalie May's collage paper, there was a little bit of residual peacock blue colour. So I thought I would just make it feel like it belonged. I've stuck a little bit in the hair around some of the other edges, just so that that kind of is like it was intentional. And here I've stamped a quote using my little tiny wooden stamps onto some white cardstock. I've used white because it works as a really nice contrast. I didn't want to go in with giant black writing because I felt it would not work with kind of the vibe that this page has got, which is quite a soft, calm vibe. It is one of my favourite pages that I've done recently, and I think it's the combination of Natalie's image and those Lindys Magicals. So sorry to lead you guys astray. If you haven't got any Lindys, maybe you could get one or two and have a play. They are lovely, you won't regret it. Thanks very much for watching. and I hope to see you again soon.